Um, so I'm really excited that you guys are all here. I think I've met most of you. I haven't met you guys, but I'll meet you afterwards. I think it's cool that you guys are here, and just the fact that you are here tells me a lot about yourself, that you're not the kind of people that just go with the flow. Like, you want to make good choices and good decisions. And so because of that, I feel like we can be friends. Not that we can't be friends, you know. Me, So a little bit about my background is that I am the oldest of 7 kids. My mom was really awesome at pregnancy and birth and all that stuff. Baby Sean, can you fix this?
Sure.
Had it working before. But I was really lucky in that I got to experience all of that, because all my siblings were younger than me, and I remember most of them. And I usually got to be around for the birth as well, which I found out later in life that's pretty rare. That a lot of people haven't ever seen a birth, and I was like, oh, I've seen 5. And my mom was really cool. She kind of did a lot of different ways. She had a couple in the hospital, then she tried some at home with a midwife, and then she tried the birthing center, and she always told me growing up that she just really liked doing it at home the best. And so all growing up, I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. At home is awesome, and you get to be in your own bed, you get to have all your cool stuff. Thanks, Jen. So to me that was normal, and so when I got pregnant, I was like, yeah, I want to do it at home. And I didn't realize that people would immediately think that I was crazy and a really bad mom for wanting to do it in such a primitive way. And I obviously didn't agree with them, so I did it anyways. And I am really glad that I did. It was a really awesome experience, and I just raved about it. I just had such a awesome birth. And yes, it was hard, but it was really awesome. So I'll talk a little bit about it throughout the talk, and if you want to know the whole story, you can ask me. I wanted to give a few disclaimers before I start. That I am, first of all, not a scientist or a doctor. So a lot of the technical stuff I don't know, mostly because I can't pronounce a lot of the words. So I just don't remember it because I have no idea how to say it. But I will be giving you broad information that I have researched. I just can't tell you. But you can go research it on your own if you really don't believe me. I encourage research. The second one is that who here has kids already? Who is pregnant? Is Julie? I also want to be sensitive because I know that some people have not had a good experience with pregnancy, or maybe really scared of it because you may have heard bad stuff about it and bad stuff about birth. So I want to be sensitive to that, and if you are pregnant, all of these things are tips to help you in the future, to have a really awesome, healthy pregnancy. Not that you aren't already doing that, or you can't have an amazing birth without doing these things. You totally can, because God made women to have babies. And so you're going to be just fine. These are just you can keep these in mind for the future. And if you don't like anything I say, you're welcome to browse Pinterest while I talk. So I wanted to give you an idea of why we wanted to share this topic, a little bit more of what Aaron said. So the reason why this talk is really important to us, and we do this every month, and honestly this talk is the one we think is most important. Because in America, for some reason, we are having a really hard time bringing healthy babies into the world. Just last year, there was 13,000 like 13,000 babies born in America that didn't make it past their first day of life. 13,000. There's a list of industrialized countries and their infant mortality rates. America's last. And in order to even touch America's number, you'd have to take all of the other countries and add their number together and then increase that by 50% to get America's number. So that's a big deal. Like, that's a lot of scary stuff. And to me, who wants to have more babies in the future, that's terrifying. I'm like, what is going on? So pregnancy, and having babies, that used to just be a normal part of life. And it's almost like nowadays, people treat it like it's a disease and a sickness that has to be monitored and tested and controlled, and you have to have a doctor telling you exactly what to do, or else chaos ensues. And the mom has very little say, and maternal instinct, which has gotten us here for thousands of years, that basically doesn't exist anymore. You're not allowed to trust your own instincts. The doctor has to be the one to tell you how to be pregnant and how to have a healthy baby. So women are taught that pregnancy and birth is now something to be afraid of, and they feel helpless. That's just the natural thing. They're scared of it, and they don't feel like they're in control. And both of those are false. So my goal today is to break the fear and empower you guys to have awesome, healthy pregnancies and healthy babies and stay healthy yourself through the whole process. My midwife, when I first met her, she said that giving birth is like a marathon. It's really hard, but if you train for it and make good choices, it's just going to be a lot easier, and you're going to be so proud of yourself when it's over, or when you do it. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do. So the first element of a healthy pregnancy is to start before you're pregnant. So most of you guys are not pregnant in here, so good job. So tell me, what's usually typically the earliest you can tell that you're pregnant? Has anybody taken a test before, seen the commercials?
4 to 5 weeks.
4 to 5 weeks? Yeah, that's average. There's some tests that claim within a week of conception, but in my experience, it's around 4 to 5 weeks. So just to give an extreme example, let's say you were a heavy smoker and drinker, but you were like, oh, if I get pregnant, I'll quit. Well, if you don't discover you're pregnant for 4 to 5 weeks, that is 4 to 5 weeks of really bad toxins going to your baby. And those first 3 weeks, that's when their brain and spinal cord and heart and digestive system, that's already starting to form in those first 3 weeks. And you might not even know you're pregnant. So I always say, my birth story actually started a few years before Silas was born. When we got married, Richie and I, he was ready to have kids, and I was like, no. I was like, before we have kids, I need to figure out how to eat healthy, I need to make exercising a habit, and I need to go to Africa. Those are my 3 things. And so I started working towards that. Working at Collins has helped a lot because it's just a healthy environment that taught me a lot. But so I tried a bunch of different exercise things like CrossFit and yoga and running and exercise videos, and most of those were really boring to me, and so I finally settled on CrossFit, and I really liked it because it was just really different every time. So I got that into my habit, and I was doing it 3 or 4 times a week, and I really enjoyed it. Once I had done it for about a year, I was like, okay, now it's part of my life. Now I know that I won't quit. Same with eating healthy. I just made really little steps at first, and it was basically stop eating fast food, stop drinking soda, then slowly switch to organic and gluten-free. Eventually, the key thing that we did was we got together with some friends and we all did the Maker's Diet 40-day cleanse, which the Maker's Diet is a book, and it basically talks about the diet that God gave the Israelites in the Bible. And I was like, there's did that, and we felt awesome after 40 days, and we didn't want to stop, so we just like kept that up as a lifestyle, and it's pretty easy to follow, like once you get into the habit of it. So I started doing those two things, and then we finally went to Africa on a 2-week mission trip, and it was really awesome, and got to work with orphanages. And so when we came home, I was like, okay, now we can. So we tried for a few weeks, and not a few weeks, months. Tried for a few months, finally got pregnant, and I don't know if you've had kids, or Julie, if you can experience this, but first trimester sucks. It sucks a lot. Like, I felt terrible. Like, I was taking naps under my desk. Or you can ask Dr. Hollins, he would come in looking for me, and I would be asleep under my desk. I was so tired because it releases like sleep hormones into your bloodstream, and it's basically like knocking you out, and it's crazy how tired you are. And then I never threw up, but I just felt sick all the time. I was like, this sucks, and I could just lay in bed for 3 months. It'd be great. But, anyways, but because of that, feeling like that is no time to start a new habit. You just feel awful, where just getting out of bed in the morning is like an accomplishment. And so, it would have been impossible for me to start exercising or start cooking healthy if I hadn't already been doing it. Like, but because it was such a natural part of my life already, it felt weird to stop. Like, if I didn't do CrossFit for a couple of days, I'd be like, oh, this is weird, like, I gotta go to CrossFit. And so I'd wake up at 5:30 in the morning, go to CrossFit, and work out, and I discovered later, or I learned later, that exercise actually helps with morning sickness. So that's pretty cool. And I was like glad to already have that as a part of my life. And I'm like, maybe it would have been a lot worse if I hadn't done that, so that would be really bad. So start early. Start building good habits into your life so that when it does get hard, you're already set. You already have that as part of your natural routine. I also recommend doing a cleanse before you want to start having kids, just because in America, like, we just have a lot of stuff that we put into our bodies, and we have like toxins that build up in our systems. And I mostly say this because one of my sister-in-law, she has a friend that she has some kids in a nice family. They live in California, but she and her husband were trying to have kids for a really long time, and they had a lot of miscarriages. I think they had like 5. And finally, she went to get tested because she was like, this doesn't feel normal, like something's wrong. And when she got tested, she found out that her mercury levels were through the roof. Like, she just had grown up eating a ton of fish and seafood, and just like she had a lot of mercury that had just built up in her system. So she did a really like hardcore detox and a cleanse, and then now they have 2 beautiful kids. Like, that was what was wrong. That thing was missing because she just couldn't produce those. I don't know, she wasn't healthy enough to like support those kids. So it's important to start fresh so that you can give your baby like the best start possible right from the beginning. In those first 3 weeks, you're already giving your baby what it needs. So the second element that will help with pregnancy is to eat like an athlete. So, raise your hand if you've ever heard anybody say, or if you've said yourself, I can't wait till I'm pregnant so I can eat whatever I want. I'm just kidding. I said that because the picture I get, like when you picture a woman on TV that's pregnant, all she gets to do is lay around and eat ice cream all day. And I was like, yes, that was awesome. Oh, don't I wish, seriously. I tell people all the time, if I could change one thing about the world, I would make sugar healthy for you. So that like, instead of your daily vitamins, you would get to eat a daily donut every day. And you'd have to have that, but it's not in church, unfortunately. So your body is made out of, like we all know this, your body's made out of what you eat. Your cells are formed from the food that you put in your body. And same with your baby. And unfortunately, most babies in America are made out of Big Macs and Diet Coke. Like, that's what their cells are being formed out of that. Just right from the beginning, their brand new cells are being formed out of that. They don't even stand a chance if their cells are being formed from high fructose corn syrup and McDonald's. It's really bad. So, you're training for a marathon, remember? So you need to eat like an athlete. You need protein, lots of protein. Most normal people, normal women, only need like 45 grams of protein a day. When you're pregnant, you need like 65 to 70. That's a lot of protein. So I applaud vegans who can get that much protein, but my typical daily diet was like 3 to 4 eggs in the morning, avocado and tomatoes and vegetables, and then like half a plate of meat and veggies at lunch, and then half a plate of, I was eating so much protein, nuts and yogurt and like all this crazy stuff. But you want protein because the amino acids that make up protein are the building blocks for your cells. That's what make up your cells, and you need to get that to your baby. So protein should be your main dish, compared with, who can tell me like what the typical American main dish is made of? Starch. Carbs. Yeah, it's like cereal in the morning, or pancakes, and sandwiches at lunch, and pasta, and dinner, and cookies, and crackers for snacks, and that's a lot of grains and a lot of carbs. One book I read, this book, it said that the enemy of a healthy pregnancy is the pretzel. Because if people think pretzels are healthy for you, they're like, oh, it's a healthy snack, I'll just eat a bunch of pretzels. That's like just shoving candy bars down your throat. Like, the effect that carbs and grains have on your body is the same effect as just eating a buttload of sugar. So highly processed carbs, that can actually like push like healthy women straight to gestational diabetes. So people don't think that it's not sugary, but giving into the carbs and your sweet tooth and your snacks and just making that like giving into all those cravings and ice cream, that actually weakens your tissue integrity, which means that you might bleed more and tear more at birth because your tissue isn't as strong. Your baby will also struggle to balance its own blood sugar levels when it's born because it doesn't have the help of the placenta, just because it already has a bunch of sugary stuff in it. So that's pretty hardcore and scary. So I like kind of knew in my head that what I ate affected the baby, but I didn't really get it until I read this story. So a birth story in here, so I wanted to read that for you guys. It was pretty crazy. So, I won't read the whole thing, but so this lady, she had had 2 births in the hospital. She was induced at 39 weeks. They both weighed 7 and 12 ounces. So on her 3rd pregnancy, she didn't do anything. She didn't have gestational diabetes, so she just kept eating the same way. And she says, I went on to eat the same way, indulging in things like ice cream 4 or 5 nights a week. And I was pregnant and not gaining that much weight, so why not? And most people think that if I'm not gaining weight, I'm fine. This baby came 3 days after my due date, and the labor was normal. The head was crowning, and I knew with one more push I would have the head out and get to meet my baby. As it turns out, one push brought out the eyebrows, next the eyes, next the nose, and finally the rest of the head. That was not what I expected. And the shoulders got stuck. I now know this is called shoulder dystocia. Yeah, I can't pronounce it. I told you. So I tried pushing while the midwife tried to free the shoulder. They told me to get on my hands and knees, hoping it would open up my pelvis. Somehow my husband flipped me over. On my hands and knees, the midwife continued to help the baby until I delivered my girl. She weighed 10 pounds, 11 ounces. We had no idea she would be that big. I had a postpartum hemorrhage, and I had to go to the hospital. We were happy to have had a home birth, a healthy baby, and such an amazing midwife, but I did not have the home birth experience I had hoped for. When we got pregnant with our 4th, I started to think about how people will tell you that each baby gets bigger each time. I wasn't expecting small babies since both my husband and I are tall, but clearly the last thing that my body needed was a bigger baby. So, I knew I would never do the 3-hour test again, the glucose test, and chose to work on my diet instead. At 28 weeks, I cut out all refined sugars and flours. As a snack to satisfy the late-night ice cream craving, I had a yogurt parfait, whole milk yogurt sweetened with honey and topped with strawberries, bananas, and almonds. I ate whole wheat products and felt really good and only gained 35 pounds. My son was born with no complications and was 10 pounds, 2 ounces. That half a pound made a big difference, and there was no stuffed shoulders this time. I'll never know if my previous baby got stuffed because she was too big. There can certainly be shoulder, that word, yes, with small babies. But I determined to do everything in my power to help this baby come out, and it did. What an awesome birth. I got pregnant again with number 5. I had learned much more about nutrition and decided that I wanted to make even better choices. I knew this was especially important in the last trimester. So at 28 weeks, I gave up all sweeteners and all grains. I ate meat, veggies, nuts, and fruit, paleo diet. I never felt deprived. I felt fantastic. I let myself have something special, but realized it only made me feel awful physically. My 5th baby arrived 10 days after his due date and weighed a measly 9 pounds. While that may seem like a big baby, he was nearly 2 pounds lighter than my 3rd. There were no complications, and I healed faster than any of my other labors. What you eat matters. As a matter of fact, it can be the difference between the lovely home birth that you desire and some very scary moments followed by a trip to the ER. I'm so happy that I gave myself and my baby the food we deserved. Everyone was happier and healthier because of my good choices. So I resonated with that a lot because I'm pretty skinny. Like, I just don't really gain weight, which that doesn't mean I'm healthy though. Like, your weight doesn't equal healthiness. And so I was like, I want my baby to be healthy. Definitely don't want to get stuck if it's too bad. And so I was like, I need to eat healthy. So it's very, very worth it. So you don't have to go paleo. That's pretty hardcore. Like, I've tried a couple times and I can't even do it. Like, the Maker's Diet is similar to paleo, but it's a little more relaxed, and so I'm able to do it. I wish that I could do more, but I stick with it. So you don't have to go paleo, but you do need food from natural and unprocessed sources. Go organic, and if you say you can't afford it, then at least do, like they call it, the dirty dozen, which the fruits and vegetables that have the most pesticides. Just avoid those and buy organic for those, especially buy organic for any animal products. Eat lots of leafy greens and healthy fats like avocado and raw coconut or olive oil. Healthy fat is really important for your brain's development, especially your baby's development. And don't worry about it making you gain weight, because if you're eating healthy fats, it's actually really good for your body, and your body can process it, unlike normal fat that America eats. So I did want to talk about cravings a little bit. I learned this from my midwife, that if you're getting enough protein, you shouldn't have cravings. Isn't that cool? I learned that from her, and it was true. I didn't really have cravings. But she said that when you do have cravings, you should listen to them, because your body is telling you that you need something. So if you're craving ice cream, you might be lacking in calcium. So if you don't want to be unhealthy, you can go research a healthy alternative for calcium, like spinach or whatever. If you're craving chocolate, you might be lacking magnesium. So you can eat some raw nuts or some healthy salts. And so there's a lot of stuff. Like, whatever you're craving, like, figure out what it is, like whether it's fatty, greasy foods or sugars, like, and then look it up, and you can just Google it and find out what it is that you need, or a healthy alternative. Your body's smart. It knows what you need, and it'll tell you. So just learn to listen to it. Feeding your body good things means that you'll probably have to eat more often, because you won't get that, like, big, fat, full feeling that we're used to in America. But that's actually a really good thing too, because especially with morning sickness, the reason most women get it pretty bad and throw up a lot is just because their stomach's empty. So if you are just eating a lot throughout the day, healthy foods, I would keep a banana and some nuts or right by my bed, and so I would eat in the middle of the night if I woke up, just so I wouldn't wake up and feel terrible, and it was really helpful. And also, while I ate well, I never got heartburn, which most pregnant women I had talked to are like, oh yeah, you're going to get such bad heartburn, it's inevitable, and I never had it. dogs, chips, and peanut M&Ms. I thought I was going to die. I had never felt that before. I was like, oh my gosh, it hurts so bad. So I was like, oh gosh, what you eat really makes a difference. Another thing I learned was that a lot of women can't have the birth that they want because of high blood pressure. But if you eat a cucumber every day, that'll help keep your blood pressure down. So I was really sick of cucumbers by the end of 9 months. But if you put it in smoothies, that helps. So besides eating like an athlete, you also should drink like one. Not like the Sprite and Gatorade commercials, but just drink water, like lots of water. When you're in labor, for every 12 hours that you're in labor, you need to drink a gallon of water, which most hospitals don't let you do that, but do it anyways. It just like helps things flow, and a lot of the times, the reason women can't have the birth that they want is because they're dehydrated, and that makes them tired. So drink tons of water. My midwife told me that, and I was like, dang it. I only drink like 1 cup of water a day. I'm just never thirsty. And so I was like, oh, I gotta start practicing. And so I started building myself up to it. I got this water bottle, and I was like, I should drink 2 of these at least. When you're pregnant and have to pee all the time, that's not a good time to start drinking lots of water. I had to go to the bathroom like every 10 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes. But I did it, and now like I can't go like 20 minutes without drinking a bunch of water because I'm like always thirsty now. And my midwife is so proud of me because I drink like 3 gallons of water in 24 hours. I drink a lot. It was awesome. I was really proud of myself. So drink pure water too. We got one of those big 5-gallon water filters because they put stuff in our water, just tap water. They put like chlorine and fluoride in it to help your teeth or whatever, but that causes cancer and it's just a toxin and it's not good for you. So drink pure water. Drink a lot. Okay, and that's my coffee. So the next one is train your body. This, of course, is exercise. And if you have read, listen to what most doctors tell you, or if you've read the What to Expect When You're Expecting, they tell you like not to lift over 15 pounds, or not to work out if you're out of breath, like just work out until you're out of breath. That's BS. Don't listen to that. At 8 months pregnant, I was deadlifting like 140 pounds. A lady I knew who was at the same CrossFit gym, she rode a 5K the day before she gave birth. And everybody's different, so you have to be smart and listen to your body. That's another reason why to start early, is because when you're pregnant, I didn't try to break any records, I didn't try to push myself too hard. You want to be careful, but you just listen to your body. I would be out of breath, I would be sweating, but there gets to a point where it's like, okay, this is a little too much, and I need to take a break, and that's fine. Listen to your body, but your body is strong. You can do so much more than you think you can. Yeah. So, one of the reasons to exercise while you're pregnant is not only that it helps with morning sickness, but pregnant women also tend to have more energy, better sleep, less mood swings. They gain 21% less weight, and 80% of them give birth on or before their due date. It also increases placenta growth and function, and it also helps your baby. Like women who exercise throughout their pregnancy, they tend to have babies that are healthier and happier and have a more calm disposition. Also babies who are just more alert and aware of their surroundings, and that's totally true with Silas. It's weird. If you get to hang around with him, that's fits him to the T. So here are the couple things that you do want. Oh, here's the stuff that it helps. But here's the things you do want. So you want a strong heart, because your body is pumping 50 times more blood through your body than normal. So your heart has to be strong. That means getting your heart rate up. If you haven't done it before, don't go out and do an hour of aerobics. Be smart about it, but you want to exercise and get your heart rate up. The other thing is strengthening your lungs. This one I just speak from experience, because you kind of hold your breath while you're pushing, and you kind of have to push for a while. And so you want to have strong lungs that can hold a lot of air, because you have to take a really deep breath and hold it and push. So you want strong lungs, so breathe deeply while exercising will help. The other one is do lots of squats. The picture most people get of women giving birth is like the TV shows where they're in the hospital on their back with their legs are up in those things and they're like pushing and stuff. That's actually the worst position to have a baby in. Like what's it called? Sorry. It makes the angle of it makes your pelvis smaller, and it also makes it harder to use your stomach muscle, so it makes it harder to push, which means that you're more likely to get an episiotomy. Is that how you say that word? Yeah, episiotomy. Episiotomy, and you're also more likely to have to use the vacuum or forceps because you can't push as hard that way. The best way to give birth is squatting. And so, you want your legs to be strong. I made, to remind myself of this, I made myself do like 10 to 20 squats every time I go to the bathroom. And so that was doing like 100 squats a day. After, like during labor though, I was like, I wish I had done more. Like my legs were really tired. And so I wish that I had done more. So start doing squats. Do them all the time. But if you're already financially, don't let this scare you. There are other ways to have a baby and they're all perfectly fine. Just for next time if you want. Yes, so that's it. So the fourth element of healthy pregnancy is to reduce stress. So in my head, there's like two different kinds of stress. The first one is emotional stress. And unless you're pregnant, you can't, even then, you can't really explain the amount of stress you feel. I don't know if you feel like that, Julie. Like, I couldn't even explain how stressed out I was because being pregnant just makes everything harder. Like, you don't even realize, like, if I dropped a pencil on the floor, it's like no big deal to just pick it up and get it. But if you're pregnant and you have a bowling ball on your stomach, and you drop a pencil, that is suddenly a stressful event. Because you hit it hard to get down, and you can't even see your feet, and you're like reaching around. Going to the grocery store, it's like a monumental task. Julie went to Costco today, she can tell you. So everything in life becomes harder, so you're just stressed out about everything you have to do and get done and prepare the nursery and buy all this stuff that you don't even know you need and register. Like, it's really stressful. So it's going to be different for everybody, but do something about that. Like, find some way to find joy in every day, whether it's and for me, all my jobs have been helping people, and so I kind of feel bad, it's selfish when I do something for myself. But ultimately, you're doing it to help your baby, so you're not really being selfish. So it is totally fine to go to get a pedicure and a massage on the same day. You need it. It is fine to ask for an extra half hour at your lunch break so you can sleep under your desk. Or go find a place to sit in the park and just breathe and write down all the things you're thankful for. Just don't let stress rule your heart. That's the big thing. Is that a lot of times we can just get overwhelmed, and it's just that's what's in our heart all the time, and it takes over. And so don't let that happen. Just every day, just find something you can do that will give you some peace. Center your life on joy instead. The other kind of stress that people don't really talk about, but we kind of know about it, is physical stress. When you're pregnant, your body is it's changing a lot, so it's putting a lot of stress on everything. Everything's stretching and moving, and it's painful. Your hips hurt and your back hurts, and there's a lot of stress on your body. So that's why when you're pregnant, I have to say this, but your chiropractor really is your best friend. He's your best friend. Not only does it help decrease those pains and stuff, and back pain, but there's a lot of other stuff. Your labor time decreases by an average of 2 to 3 hours, which is pretty good. Women under chiropractic care are less likely to need pain medication during labor. It can help term breech babies. It helps prevent morning sickness, helps you sleep better. It decreases emotional stress too. It helps regulate your blood pressure, and it can help prevent you from having to have a C-section. The reason it can do all of these things is not that it's magic. But the reason is because your nervous system, your spine is like right here, and your nervous system is in the middle, and your nerves flow out of it, and your nerves control everything. They control your heart rate, they control your cravings, they control your morning sickness, and just like everything that's going on, they control your stress. And so if you get those little bones that like put pressure on your nerves, those cut off that flow and those messages, so your body just isn't able to work the way it's supposed to, the way God meant it to. And so going to the chiropractor, he helps get it all back, so everything's just working correctly so that you can function the way God meant you to, and just make everything better all around. So most people I know think of chiropractor or chiropractic like medicine. Like, oh, well, if it gets bad enough, then I'll go. Then I'll do it. But chiropractic should be thought of like eating healthy or exercising. It's a thing to prevent that stuff from happening and prevent all those things. So it's been cool, like, because I've been a chiropractic patient before I even worked here, and it changed my life, and that's why I wanted to work here. And so if you start early, you can start to work on your posture and like start to work on your nervous system ahead of time, so that way right from the beginning, your body's able to send all those right messages to your baby right off the start. I'll just tell you a little bit about my birth and how chiropractic really helped it. Most first-time births are pretty long. I don't know if you've heard that. They're pretty statistically the longest ones, like usually 20-something hours. Chiropractic can reduce that. So I called my midwife when I was in labor and stuff, and she was like, okay, you're probably going to have the baby around 2 or 3 a.m. And I was like, okay, gotta press it out. And Silas ended up being born like 3 hours before that. And I was like, that's awesome. That was as fast as I thought it was. So that was pretty cool. And it also helps, they say it helps reduce pain during labor. And that is really true. Like, I was really scared of just like, I don't have a very high pain tolerance. I get traumatized just by going to the dentist. I really do. And so I was kind of nervous about that. But it never got so bad that I felt like I couldn't do it, if that makes sense. Like, it was intense and it was hard, but I wouldn't describe it as painful at all. Like, I had leg cramps during it, like Charlie horses, because I didn't eat enough iron, so that's my own fault. But those were worse than pushing. And I was like, okay, that wasn't that bad. But chiropractic is awesome. It totally helps with that. So, next thing is to have a good compass. So this one's going to be a little bit more in depth. But what I mean by that is that there's a lot of information out there. Like, there's a lot of pregnancy books, a lot of websites, a lot of different doctors, and they all say different stuff. And I do not have enough time to give you a whole big list of every single little thing that you should or should not do. I just don't have time for that. So you need to have a good compass that will help you know it on your own. Like, it can help you know what sources to trust, because everybody says different stuff. So this one is tricky because I'm going to be presenting a different worldview than most of America believes. Most of America thinks that man is awesome. Like, man has all these inventions, all these things, like we're just at the top, we're super smart, we're amazing, anything we say is awesome. And this is hard for me to explain, so I don't want to like make anybody mad, but you can leave if you're not, that's fine. So I'm not saying that we need to go live in like grass huts and stuff, because I love my iPhone and I love my heated car seats. Like, man does make awesome stuff. I'm not saying that it's bad, but when it comes to health, man hasn't always been able to improve it. I'll give a couple of examples. So when I was 26 weeks pregnant, one of our friends, she had an emergency C-section, and she was only 25 weeks pregnant. So, and we went to visit them in the hospital. Very tiny baby, like barely like a pound. It was so precious, and I was like, that's inside of me right now. I was like, oh my gosh. But this baby, like, it needed 2 whole walls of equipment and machines to keep it alive. And that's what my stomach was doing. Like, 2 whole walls of moving stuff and my body was doing that naturally. And that baby, like, he's still alive and he made it, and I'm so glad for that, but he's not healthy. Like, it was a struggle. He struggled. They struggled to keep him alive. They struggled keeping him breathing and getting enough food and nutrients, and he's still, like, he's about Silas's age now, and he's not healthy. And so, man is really awesome that they were able to keep that baby alive, but nothing can replicate what God designed our bodies to do naturally. Another example is breastfeeding. Man thought they were like so awesome when they invented formula and they put all the right vitamins in it, and they're like, look, breastfeeding's a pain in the butt. You don't have to do it. You can just pour water in and it's all ready. Except now there's been tests to find out that the mom's areola, that circle, it has sensors in it, and it can measure the baby's saliva and see what that baby needs, which vitamins it's lacking in, pull it from the mom's body and put it into the milk. Isn't that awesome? They also did some tests with like a mom who had an infant and a toddler who was like still breastfeeding. They would put like the infant on, and they would be getting a certain milk. Babies need a lot of fat in their milk. Toddlers need more protein. They would put the toddler on. Within a minute, the milk content had changed. No formula can do that. That is awesome. Like, God designed our bodies so awesome. Question?
Can you, just because I've had a lot of friends who do breastfeeding, so in that aspect, I just kind of wanted to bring that up. Maybe.
And like I know like my sister-in-law couldn't breastfeed either, and so she had to pump, and that's definitely better than formula, but it's still not. It's not like specific to the baby. Right. If that makes sense. Yeah, it's still better than formula for sure. But anyways, like God knew what He was doing, and even if man can't prove it yet, our bodies are really awesome. Like, and we don't need any interference from what man has made. So the question I asked myself of determining, like my compass of like determining whether or not this is a good source or information to trust, is I just ask, is it God-made or man-made? And you might not believe in God, which is fine, but it's the same concept. Like, did man create it from chemicals in a plant, or is it natural? Like, did they come from the earth or whatever? So we have really complex systems, like our bodies. It's really complex. Nobody can really completely explain or understand it. And it works in a certain way. And when we try to mess with it, it just throws things off. So I'm really thankful for modern surgery and medicine because they are able to like save your life, but they aren't able to like improve your life. They're able to get you back to like where you're alive and functioning, but from there it's like they're just getting your body back to doing what it was supposed to be doing in the first place. Does that make sense? So I typically ask this question when it's putting something into my body or doing something to it. Breathing it in, putting it on my skin, because your skin absorbs stuff like sunscreen and stuff. So to figure out if it's God-made or man-made, it takes some label reading and like just common sense, deductive reasoning. So I have a few examples, and you guys can help me figure it out. So when you're pregnant, smells can affect you a lot. So let's say that your house doesn't smell very good and you're going to throw up all the time, so you want your house to smell good. So would you A, pick Febreze, B, a Glade candle, which are typical American household products, or C, other? So Glade, or Febreze, has these random ingredients, some of these random ingredients in it. I have no idea what that is. Definitely cannot pronounce that. But various perfume blends, who knows what that is? Glade candles, whatever these are, I have no idea. But to me, that's like breathing in secondhand smoke. Like, we know that's bad for you, but people don't know this stuff is bad for you. So label reading, and then common sense, deductive reasoning. Like, what would they have done like 1,000 years ago when this stuff didn't exist? Maybe like crush up rose petals and like smell them, or put them in water and create like a rose water or something like that. Sounds a little bit like essential oils to me. So they have really awesome diffusers. You can put some essential oil in. Peppermint oil helps with morning sickness. A lot of essential oil, most essential oils, they also just have really awesome health benefits besides smelling good. So that's just a God-made thing that you can do. It's 100% pure from the earth. Another example is, what about prenatal vitamins? If you go to the store, there's like a whole big section of them. So which one do you pick? That's so stressful. Well, let's look at the labels. This is One-A-Day, hey baby, which is a really popular one. And look at all this stuff in it. I can't even pronounce it. I don't know if you can see that far, but red dye number 40, yellow lake, methyl something, riboflavin. I don't know what that stuff is. And this is the one that I took. You don't have to take this one. You can look at your own labels, but it's called Garden of Life Prenatal. They're raw, all organic. Strawberry, cherry, blackberry, blueberry, raspberry, asparagus juice, amarilla, quinoa sprout, millet sprout, flaxseed sprout, sunflower seed sprout. We know what those are, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing in there you can't pronounce.
Right. And nothing in there that was made in a plant. It all comes from a plant. So you can use your common sense to figure stuff out. So now I don't have to give you a list of everything you should and should not eat. But it's the same with like stuff you put on your skin too, like your skin absorbs. Like sunscreen actually causes more skin cancer than it prevents because it's really bad for you. So you can use coconut oil. Like for everything that man's created to help you, like there's a God alternative. You just might have to research it and trust that it's going to help. So one more example. What about the flu shot? Like doctors tell pregnant women to get the flu shot because getting sick apparently is going to kill your baby or something. Let's look at what's in a flu shot. Mercury, also called dimerosal, formaldehyde, chicken embryos, sodium phosphate, gelatin, polysorbate, neo something sulfate, mono something glutamate. I can't even pronounce half of this stuff.
That's MSG.
There's a lot of stuff in there. You guys can read this if you want. There's a bunch of here. But I just think it's ironic that doctors are recommending the flu shot, which, by the way, the label says do not get pregnant women. But then doctors are also saying don't eat tuna because there's too much mercury in it. When there's a boatload of mercury in flu shots and those shots. So, is it God-made or man-made? I think I would rather just try to be healthy and not get sick. And if I do get sick, there's God-made cures for getting sick. You don't have to take Dayquil or NyQuil or anything like that. Man-made medicines actually suppress your symptoms, which make you sick longer. And they just put toxins in your body. So, I could talk about this all night, and we're actually talking about it next month, so I don't have to talk about it all night. Our next workshop is about stuff like this, like how to stay healthy in a sick world. So you should come to that and just ask yourself that question anytime it comes to things like that. Okay. God-made versus man. That'll help give you the power to decide for yourself. So the next one is informed consent. You've probably heard about this one. It's a pretty common thing to talk about it. But in America, there's like the typical way of doing things that maybe like 80% of people just kind of go along with. It's like the doctor says, it's time for this, and they're like, okay. Well, what is that? What are you going to do? What are the benefits and the risks from that? Like, is there anything else I could do instead of that? Ask those questions. Use your common sense. There's this little acronym online that I found. I don't know what that website is, so don't listen to that. But so to remember to use your brain, so like B, ask what the benefits are for how it's positively going to affect you and your baby, or any risks, how will it negatively impact you or your baby, any alternatives, and that one, the doctor won't always know this. So you might have to go research it, take out your iPad and look it up for a minute to see if there's any God-made alternatives. Intuition, like mother's instinct is a powerful thing. Like what's your gut say? Does it say like, I don't know about that, or is it like, yes, we need that? And then nothing. What will happen if you do nothing about it? just ask those questions. And don't just ask your doctor, like, because they know what they're supposed to do. They don't always know, like, alternatives and why and, like, all that stuff. Like, you're probably going to have to research on your own. When I was pregnant with Silas, I really liked my midwife visits because she was so funny. Like, she would be like, so it's your 28th week, and typically people do this. What would you like to do? And I'd be like, what is that? And she'd be, and I can't pronounce it, so I'm not even trying to, but she'd be like, oh, it's this, and then they usually want to measure this, and I'd be like, so what does it do? And she'd be like, well, it's like this, and I'd be like, so do I need that? And she'd be like, I'd be like, well, can I, like, go look it up and then come back and do it next time if I want to? And she's like, yeah, go for it. And so that was basically what happened every time. So I would figure out, and I would do a ton of research, ask a ton of my, like, friends that I trusted, look it up online and blogs and helping people. So gestational diabetes is, like, a serious thing, and they typically will give you, like, this really sugary glucose drink to like see how your body responds, and I don't even know what they do because I didn't do it. But that drink is really bad for you. If you look at the label, really gross. It's very gross. Really gross. And the part that made me really not want to do it was because it's really gross. And so I was like, oh, let's do it. So she told me, and I was like, well, I don't eat sugar. I also, like, don't have a history of diabetes. I feel pretty healthy. And I just trust that I'm going to be okay. And so I decided not to do it. And there's also the hemoglobin, I can't pronounce that one, the blood test that they do, which can also detect gestational diabetes. And that's just a blood draw. And I was like, we'll do that one instead. Totally fine. But if you really are worried about it, there's also alternatives to drinking that drink. You can do, there's like a 28 jelly bean test where you can buy like your own like organic sugar cane jelly beans, eat a bunch of those, and do the test, and it gets about the same results. So that's way better than that gross, toxic drink. Another thing, I know that this is pretty normal for America, like ultrasounds. Like everybody wants to get the picture, they want to have the video, they want to do a 3D ultrasound, so they're super cool. But are they necessary? Like, what are the risks and benefits? And if you absolutely must know the gender, then that's fine, but the ultrasounds that doctors normally do are like an hour long, or 45 minutes at least. They're a long time. There's no reason to do it that long. 20 minutes, find out the gender, that's great. I decided that I really wanted to go like fully, like the way God meant it to be, and just be surprised. So I didn't have any ultrasounds, and I just trusted, like, you can tell if you're healthy or not. You can, like, your mom can feel if something's wrong. I was like, everything feels totally healthy and normal, so I don't feel like I need to do this. So I didn't. Even the Doppler, which measures the heart rate, my midwife asked me if I wanted to do that, and she explained what it was, and I was like, well, like, what are the risks? And she's like, honestly, nobody knows, because they've never done any long-term studies on it. And but she did say, she's like, we know that babies don't like it. They move away from it. Also, the same technology that they use in the Doppler, they used to use in the ocean to, like, measure stuff, I don't know. But it would make whales beach themselves, so they had to stop. It's illegal. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. Like, you can listen with a stethoscope, right, to the heartbeat? And she's like, yeah, you just have to wait a few more weeks, but people normally have to hear the heartbeat. And I was like, I can wait 4 more weeks. That's totally fine. So even that I decided not to do, because I'm like, if they've never done any long-term studies, I'm like, I don't know about that. And the reason is because in the 1930s, they used to take x-rays of all pregnant women to measure their pelvis. And then 10 years later, they found out it causes cancer, so they stopped. In the 1950s, they gave all pregnant women a drug that 10 years later, they found out that it caused babies to be born without arms and legs.